Sean Puffy Combs' federal charges have little, if anything, to do with domestic abuse or pedophilia. His major sex crime federally is he's being accused of transporting women across state lines to engage in sex. What we call prostitution. Not Casey, not the freak-offs, not underage girls, but prostitution. Why am I bringing this up? Because I don't support prostitution either. I do not support men paying for the sugar box. I do not support black women having to sexually exploit their sugar box in order to pay their bills. With that being said, prostitution is the oldest female business on the planet Earth. Prostitution is the oldest female business on the planet Earth. Prostitution is the oldest female business on the planet Earth. It is the sexual trafficking that Sean Puffy Combs is being accused of. Not domestic abuse, not freak-offs, not stomping out Cassie, not engaging in sex with underage women. It is interstate sexual trafficking. That is the charge. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up, peace God, because when I listen to the news, they're not talking about the evidence against Sean Puffy Combs. When I listen to the news, they're not talking about the evidence of Sean Puffy Combs. When I listen to the news, I have yet to hear anybody give me a specific piece of interstate sex trafficking evidence against Sean Puffy Combs. I'ma say it again. I'ma say it for the low political IQ Negroes. I'ma say it for the average political IQ Negroes. And I'ma say it for the high IQ Negroes. I haven't seen or heard a single piece of evidence against Sean Puffy Combs. I ain't read it in the New York Times, read it in the Philadelphia Inquirer. I ain't heard it on CNN. I ain't seen it on Headline News. Where is the evidence that Sean Puffy Combs engaged in interstate sex trafficking? I keep hearing about Cassie when I turn on the news. Why are we hearing about Cassie when Cassie has nothing to do with the federal indictment? I don't think any black man should have 1,000 bottles of baby oil. I don't think any black man needs 1,000 bottles of baby oil. But I haven't seen anywhere in federal law where owning 1,000 bottles of baby oil is a federal crime. Brothers and sisters, are you with me so far? Brothers and sisters, are you with me so far? Do you understand, overstand, and understand what the most requested black scholar in the world is saying right now? Do you understand and overstand and understand what the most requested black scholar in the world is saying right now? Do you understand, overstand, and understand what the premier Pan-Africanist on the planet is saying to you right now? Baby oil is not a federal crime. Stomping out Cassie, he was not charged with a crime. The freak-offs are not crimes. So why do we keep hearing about Cassie? Why do we keep hearing about baby oil? Why do we keep hearing about freak-offs? Where are the federal charges, and why are the charges being sealed? Why did the feds seal the charges against Sean Puffy Combs? I'm going to tell you one reason why the feds sealed the charges against Sean Puffy Combs. One of the biggest reasons they sealed the charges against Sean Puffy Combs is because the evidence is probably weak. The evidence is probably weak. And because the evidence is probably weak, that he is guilty of interstate sex trafficking, and because the evidence is probably weak that he is guilty of interstate sex trafficking, they had to seal the charges. They had to hide the charges from you and I. They had to hide the charges from you and I long enough for the public execution.
People are saying this about Dr. Umar right now.
If you're shocked that Dr. Umar defended Diddy, I'm shocked. Like, I'm shocked that you're shocked. That's on brand, actually.
The only thing I'm surprised about is the fact that this man is defending a queer man. You know how Umar feels about the gays. You know how he feels about the LGBTQI. You know how he feels about the they-thems. Diddy is a queer man. Umar hates queer people. I'm very shocked that he's defending Diddy as much as he is. It's got me thinking a little bit. If you know, you know.
I'm also feeling like the people are saying, how can you be defending Diddy when he's a queer man? Like Diddy, he's a bisexual man. Something that you do not believe is in our genetic makeup. You do not believe that a black man or a black woman can want to be with another same gender or same gender marriages. It gets people thinking, what exactly do you believe in? Like, is there like a hierarchy in the things that you believe in, Dr. Omar? I mean, you're contradicting yourself right now. You have to have a strong firm on something. Are you defending him because you see a black man whose wealth is being challenged by the states of America? Or you really conflicted of his sexuality, or you don't believe in his sexuality cases, or you don't believe them at all? Because on the same thing you're saying, on the same topic you're saying, it's not about the 1,000 baby bottles. That's not the fact of the case. He's not charged for case. He's not charged. It's not coming off the way you would want it to come off, Dr. Omar. It's coming off differently. Hence, people are looking at you sideways, that he's a queer man. And despite all of these things and how the media presents him, I say that, even I would say, if you wanted to defend him in quotes, if you wanted to do or go about that route, I would say, there's a larger spectrum. It's not just him. Because if you look at Diddy's persona, he was dealing with politicians, he was dealing with musicians. He wasn't dealing with just small-time musicians. He was dealing with the big people in the industry, okay? He is dealing with a lot of people who right now are harsh and don't want their name to be in the media like he is right now. So if you want to deal with that, let's talk about that and be like, okay, even the people that you don't want to think are in that as well, they're in it as well, So maybe that's the way of looking at it and saying, hey, I did this fucked up and he should be charged for that. But let's look at this as a whole thing. Your Jay-Z's, your Beyonce's, everybody. Where are we leaving them to? All of them. Mary J. Blige should be on trial as well. Everyone who has been associating, your Meek Mills, everyone who has been associating with him, your Kim Kardashians, I would even put it past Kanye as well. I guess this is why Kanye does not want his kids in the industry, because he knows. You can never be a billionaire without scrutinizing yourself. So you are defending a black man or you're in denial. That's another thing. You're in denial. You're believing that it's not true. He's not queer because he has kids and stuff like that. He's not true, like you're in denial. You're in denial that he's not queer. You're denying that he can never be married to a woman and he can have all of these things. So that is why he's a psychologist, I believe, something like that. I would like to think that. But we're going to talk about the trafficking of women's bodies. We're going to talk about that, and in an expanded notation level. We're going to go into depth about women who are being exploited and why their bodies are being exploited the way that they are.
The only reason sex work isn't getting legalized is because then it's going to get reported on your taxes. And if sex work gets reported on your taxes, the problem isn't who is creating the work. The problem is going to be who gets exposed buying the work. Your pastors, your teachers, your doctors, your politicians, your CEOs, your executives. You realize, oh, that wasn't just a company party at the bar. That was at the strip club. Oh, that wasn't you taking anybody on a date. That was you getting services after work. Oh, that wasn't you holding a community healing session. So the reason, and literally the first YouTube video I even made was speaking about, like, we as a people have to start really humanizing the fellow people who engage within the sex work industry, so we can truly get to the culprits behind the demonic activity that's behind there, which is not the sexual expression of people who are accepting of themselves. It is the sadistic creeps who feel like this is an industry or an environment or an ecosystem where they, as somebody who is willing to pay for services, is now in a position of power to exploit and dehumanize somebody based on their identity or what they are willing to do. We have to create some kind of foundation in the realm of sex and sexuality that allows us to engage in such experiences without lowering our humanization or ability to humanize the people in that experience. And that is going to help us, especially you guys who aren't like really in like deep with this conversation. That's going to help you guys understand what kind of perspective I'm presenting here. And also, one of the reasons why I speak so much about like sex work too is because I have like a lot of neurodivergent peers and friends. And I also have some who do involve themselves within sex work and the industry. And we, especially as autistic people, we don't, like, our way of well-being and living does not align with the hyper-allistic serving system that is the traditional 9-to-5 schedule, that is the normal everyday life that somehow everybody just wakes up and loves to hate and hates to love at the same time. So I have to continue to validate opportunity outside of the traditional way to let people like myself and people like those in this community know being different or being non-traditional isn't an opportunity to hate yourself even more than you probably already do. It's a chance to figure out what lengths you're willing to go to create a life that allows you to be the fullness of who you are and reciprocates energy in relation to your ability to express that. However that is, and if you can serve value to the outside of yourself to somebody who's willing to compensate that value, continue to do that in the best way you know how, but one way that allows you to never be apart from yourself in order to access that compensation. We live in just in a world full of shame, and it's interesting when it comes to shame and then speaking about sex work, because it's like you force people to make money in this system where you make all of them poor, and then they make money in a way that makes you uncomfortable, and then now you need to shame them out of making money this way because it goes against like your Christian religion or some shit. It goes against your like your book, your God, and it's like, wait a second. Then why don't you give people housing and a healthcare and accommodation and all types of shit? So if it's not something they want to do out of the choice of their own hand, they don't have to. But you don't do that either. You spend all that money creating fucking mega churches and making pastors billionaires. And then I'm sitting here trying to have these conversations to where we can actually accommodate and serve the people who are attempting to serve themselves because nobody else will. And you guys want to say it's against fucking God and shit, bro. And it's well, fucking, nigga, Jesus sat with the prostitutes, nigga. Sorry, bro. Like Like, y'all are not tapped in, bro. Y'all thump that Bible on your fucking all day, and y'all don't even read the stories of the person that was in there that you be calling perfect, bro. But let me get back to the point I'm trying to say, man. Like, really, if we don't get to a point where we're humanizing the sex workers and the community people that involve themselves on like the actual lower levels of this society, and we aren't holding the managers, the management agencies, and all these people at the top, we aren't holding all of them accountable, and we aren't holding the people that publicly shame sex work in the real world and privately invest themselves in it, if we aren't exposing them either, we're going to get to a world where under the right hand of blonde Jesus, who was born in Africa, we're allowed to dehumanize these people enough to subjugate them to a space in society that is so dehumanized, so invalidated, so almost like excommunicated from the light side of society, but exploited in the dark side of society. It's going to be an absolute fucking madhouse. And then on top of that, not being able to appreciate people who engage healthily in sex work and engage in like the raw, authentic nature of sex, that's going to even further separate us as a collective people who don't engage in that. It's going to separate us from being able to appreciate our own sexuality and our own sexual nature, and force us to be completely codependent on understanding of that through the hyper ignorant, hyper self-rejecting Christian church that is literally buying out our government right now. So OnlyFans was the first step in the direction of, oh my goodness, the creator is starting to see how much wealth they are really creating in this industry, and how much wealth they can genuinely produce, and how much they've been lied to by these pimps and pimping management agencies, and then dehumanized because they aren't even making not even making 1% as to the value that they create, especially in this digital internet age. And the world we live in, especially this one that's like hyper shameful, God hates you, God hates you, God hates you. We're going to have to find a way to serve the Christians by dehumanizing and shaming everybody, while also serving the capitalist by saying, hey, we're going to continue to let this industry run under the table, but like only the masters of the system who dehumanize and destroy and pimp these women, those are the only people that are going to be able to get rich. And then we're going to hope that you people in the middle of society don't fall into this trap that we're running here. And in all of this happening, this giant scheme of pimping happening, none of you guys will ever... I don't know how I was going to end this video, but go watch my YouTube channel. I'm cooler on there.